everybody, welcome back to another episode of Cavanaugh's Corner. Today on the show I'm going to be talking about a movie that I've loved for a long time. This is one of my favorite action films ever made. It kind of is funny because it was definitely at a time when it came out where Sylvester Stallone was kind of on like a comeback tour almost. It was kind of an interesting thing. He's had a lot of peaks and valleys in his career, but this is one of my favorite films of his, and it's just a really exciting action film, and that is Cliffhanger. Today I'm going to be talking about the new 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray of this, and just kind of how it stacks up and how it does in the new format. And that's pretty much what this review is going to be about. Now, this is another release from Sony. This came out within the last couple weeks. And I got to tell you, I was really looking forward to this one. This is a movie that I thought would benefit a lot from the 4K format. I thought it was a movie that really would really stand out. And it does. I'm really glad to report that it does. This is one of the better 4K movies I've seen in recent memory. There's been some real good ones, but this is really, really fantastic. Now, I do have one little gripe with this set, and I'll talk about it later on. For the 4K disc itself, though, it really is an outstanding new remaster of the film. The movie looks absolutely pristine, and that is the first thing I do want to talk about here is the video quality of the 4K disc is the best I've ever seen this movie look. And this is another one of those movies where I owned it on VHS, I owned it on DVD, I own it on Blu-ray, and this is hands down the best this movie has ever looked. I don't think we're going to get any better than this, honestly. This is just an absolutely phenomenal release from Sony here. And, man, I'm glad they chose this one to put out in 4K. The picture on this is absolutely just gorgeous all throughout. The older versions of the film that I had seen had a lot of film grain, had a lot of actually some kind of damage to it sometimes. Actually, in some older versions that I've seen. Actually, I remember watching this when I had it on VHS, and I had the pan and scan version, which makes this movie look absolutely atrocious. It's almost unwatchable to see this in like a pan and scan version. For those of you that don't know what pan and scan is. This movie is actually filmed in a 2:4 to 1 aspect ratio, which is a pretty widescreen ratio. You get the bars in the top and bottom. And the movie was shot in that format. And when you watch it on TV back in the old days, when you had a square TV, not a widescreen TV like everything is now, but they would actually change the aspect ratio to 4:3. And I remember this movie, I remember Die Hard, and a couple other action movies back in the day. Lethal Weapon 3 was always on a lot back in the day as well. And all those movies have a very similar aspect ratio. And watching them move the frame from left to right was always atrocious. And I'm glad to say this one here is obviously back in widescreen, just like the Blu-ray. That anamorphic widescreen is gorgeous on a home TV now. We've come a long way since the days of VHS, but this movie was beautiful, and I cannot say that enough. The landscapes that are shown in the movie look absolutely breathtaking. They are just gorgeous to look at. The mountainscapes, the snow, the trees. Ironically enough, one thing that happens with this new 4K that is kind of wild is you can really tell when they go to sets now in the movie. When the movie changes from on location to on a set, it is extremely noticeable now. So much so that I was kind of taken aback because I had forgotten about one moment that happens near the end of the film, and it is so clearly obvious that it's a set versus most of the rest of the movie that it's kind of jaw-dropping how different it looks versus some of the outdoor scenes. But the movie, it just looks great. There's not a speck of damage throughout the film that I could see. There was no tears in the frame. And the best part of all was that they did keep a very fine layer of grain in the film. I reviewed Philadelphia a few weeks ago, which was another release from Sony, and Philadelphia was very similar to this in terms of picture quality. I thought the image on that is very comparable to this, where you can definitely tell they shot it on film, but man, there is not a lot of heavy grain. It is really reduced perfectly to the point where it's there, but it keeps the filmic quality, but does not become distracting. And again, it was just great. It's just a great looking movie overall. Now, the HDR in this is something to behold as well. This disc here that we got in America has just HDR10. There's no Dolby Vision on it. But the nice thing is that if you're overseas, I did hear from a frequent commenter and viewer on my channel here that an alternate version is out there where it's actually it actually does have Dolby Vision, but there's no Dolby Atmos on it, which is kind of weird. I don't know if I'm ever going to get my hands on that version. This disc here is pretty fabulous by itself, but the movie with HDR10 is just amazing. You get a whole new range of colors in this film that I never really got from it before. Talking right down to clothes, articles of clothing Sylvester Stallone wears, Michael Rooker wears in the movie. You can make out little details on it. The Rocky Mountain Rescue logo that's on the back of Michael Rooker's jacket at one point in the movie, you can read it. It's gorgeous. The movie is fairly nasty in terms of violence here and there. The blood in this is really wild looking. When blood shows up in the movie, it's pretty convincing. The special effects are pretty great in this movie. HDR again throughout used very well. Explosions are unbelievable looking. They are just fabulous. And again, most of the visual effects actually still hold up today. You can definitely tell here and there when they kind of do those matte painting shots. It's definitely a matte painting. And ironically enough, near the end of the movie with this new 4K format, there's a pretty noticeable mistake at the end of the movie when Sylvester Stallone is fighting John Lithgow on top of the helicopter at the end of the movie. You can pretty clearly see, without even pausing the film now, that they have a rig hooked up to the helicopter that's latched to the side of the mountain. And it is very, very noticeable. That rig it's painted in a way to make it blend in with the background, but there are quite a few shots at the end of the movie where you can make it out absolutely perfectly now, and it's kind of a wild little error, just because, you know, that was special effects back in the day. They really hadn't mastered a lot of the computer technology that you see now where they can paint out stuff, but you can see wires and stuff all over the place here. And it's kind of funny. To me, it makes the movie, kind of funny to watch. But overall, the movie still holds up great. The HDR on it is phenomenal. Black levels in some of the nighttime scenes are really well done. The colors, again, throughout just look spectacular. And you really do get a color palette out of this movie that you never really got before. So I was really glad to see that they did a good job with that on this disc. Ironically enough, the best thing about this disc, I would have to say, is the Dolby Atmos soundtrack. They redid the soundtrack now in a immersive Dolby Atmos surround, and that Dolby Atmos surround is just, it's incredible. It is really, really incredible. It is a standout on the format. It is probably one of my favorite soundtracks of all the 4K films that I've listened to in recent memory. It really makes the movie just jump right out at you. Gunshots, helicopters, planes. There's one real standout moment near the beginning, middle of the film where an avalanche happens and you can hear the snow coming from top and it moves down the speakers, and it is just a wild effect to experience. And if you do have a home theater, this is worth buying just to play the soundtrack on. It's amazing. They really, really did a great job remastering this movie and doing the soundtrack. Hats off to Sony for another absolutely fabulous 4K disc here. Now, I mentioned earlier in the review, I do have a little gripe with this new set. And the gripe is not with the 4K disc at all, as do a lot of these re-release movies or sometimes new movies that come out on 4K. There are no special features on the 4K disc whatsoever. There's none. You just get the movie, the new soundtrack, that's it. That's all you get. My little gripe is the fact that the Blu-ray that's included in this is the exact same Blu-ray that was there before. The only thing I noticed was that the picture on the disc was different. I noticed literally nothing new about the two discs. It is the exact same disc, exact same special features, exact same movie, nothing crazy at all. It is literally the exact same film as far as I'm concerned. I did not see any differences whatsoever. So if you're buying this and you already have the old Blu-ray and you're looking forward to a new standard Blu-ray, don't. It's not. It's the exact same movie. It also comes with a digital copy that can be used on the Movies Anywhere service, which I think is really nice. Today, actually, something really wild happened the day this video goes up. Ultraviolet actually announced that they are going out of business. And it's kind of crazy. That was one of the top digital movie companies around, and they are going to go bye-bye in 5 months. And a lot of people ask me, why do you buy movies on disc? Why don't you just buy them digitally? That's the reason why, folks. I don't buy a lot of movies digitally. If a movie comes out on Blu-ray or 4K or something, and it comes with a digital copy, great. I'll redeem the digital copy. But I do not depend on digital copies because of things that are going on like they are today, like I mentioned a minute ago. Ultraviolet has exclusive deals with quite a few companies. I think MGM being one of them. And it is kind of crazy that they're going to be gone in 5 months. It's kind of nuts. A lot of companies have a lot of movies on there. Thankfully, a lot of the services that you can connect to Ultraviolet, such as Vudu and I think Fandango now, there's a couple other ones, but you can connect them to that service. They will still keep those movies on there, hopefully. Information is kind of hazy right now, but this is the reason why I do these reviews, because I still believe in physical media. The only way this is going to disappear is if somebody breaks into my house, and I really sincerely hope that never happens. But, again, as for this disc set here, it's a great disc. It was around $20 when I purchased it. It's a fabulous set from Sony. Again, the standard Blu-ray is a little disappointing because it's the same as the old one. There are no new special features or anything on this. But the 4K disc is worth your money alone. It's a great film, made even better by 4K. The HDR is awesome. The Dolby Atmos is even better. And it's really worth it to go out and pick up Cliffhanger here. Again, I'm Andrew Cavanaugh. Thank you for coming back to the channel. If you enjoyed this review, please leave me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so I can make it grow and bring you more content week to week. Thank you very, very much, and you have yourselves a great night. Take it easy.